Hi, this is Natalie. Thank you for listening to Crossroads Church, where we are bringing a real God to real people. I believe you'll be inspired by today's message.
Welcome home for Christmas, y'all. You gonna be home for Christmas this year? So am I. This is home. I'm grateful to be here. I don't usually end up on this side of the service. This is a lot more nerve-wracking, but I'm so grateful to be serving under Pastors Marcus and Natalie, and they're just amazing people. They love you guys so much, and you know, I thinking about just how blessed you guys are. I am to have the pastors that we do. I don't think you guys even realize that sometimes, right? Because what's great, if it's consistently great, someone said if you know you're great when people stop giving you the compliments, right? And sometimes I think we can take that for granted. Like, it's so consistently great here that we don't even realize. Like, I've been all over the country to churches all over the place, and we're just so blessed to have the pastors we do. When I walk in this room, I don't know about you, but when I walk in this room, Pastor Marcus, when he's teaching, he makes me feel like I'm sitting in his living room, right? And I told him last week it was crazy because he will set these stories up, and he's just a master storyteller. He'll be just telling stories and stuff, and then all of a sudden the truth just hits your heart without you even realizing it. And I found myself last week, I'm just in tears and wiping the tears off my face. I'm like, what just hit me? What happened? And he's a great communicator, and Pastor Joel's the same way. He's so good at finding the one thing that is the battle in our hearts and just going straight to that thing, right? And addressing the problem in the hardest. He speaks into the truth into the hardest areas of my life. But I'm just so grateful to serve under them, and thanks for letting me share this morning. But Christmas is a beautiful time, isn't it? It's wonderful. I love Christmas so much. To be with the people that you love the most and who simultaneously annoy us the most. Hillary and I have really enjoyed making Christmas memories and traditions with our little young family, and I've got my two oldest, Maya and Brinson, here with me in the front row, and I love them so much. You're going to hear Maya sing next week, so don't miss that. It's going to be great. When I was a kid, my dad was a bit of a contrarian, so to speak. If everyone else did Christmas one way, he was going to do it the other way, because it was just, everything had to have a specific reason. So if the Christmas tree wasn't in the Bible, we weren't going to do it that way. We never had a Christmas tree. We never had gifts at Christmas. We never did any of that. I do know, however, my dad loved me very much. So I'm not going to make this a bag on my dad day, because what we did do, music was such a huge thing in the Roby house, right? We always had music going. My dad would come home from work fixing cars all day in the cold up in Montana, and he'd come write songs over the weekend on the piano, and there was always music in the house. And we overdid everything, right? So one of the traditions, probably the only Christmas tradition we had, was caroling. Right? And we were those annoying people outside your door that you had to wait for like 5 minutes, because we overdid everyththing. We had rehearsals. We did 5-part a cappella harmony, and we were arguing about who got the 7ths and the 5ths and beforehand, and we would just overdo it, and we'd go caroling around these neighborhoods, and we'd often go to nursing homes. And I remember distinctly a lot of times where, you know, and the Bible said, if you go to the least of these, it's like you've done it to me. And I'm not saying that nursing homes are the least of these, but some people forget about those people. Some people forget about the people who are stuck alone and they don't have anyone to spend Christmas with because everyone they've loved has passed away maybe or whatever. And sometimes you go in there and it was stuffy and it was hot. And I remember being a kid and there's this 90-year-old lady in my face going, "Oh, you're so cute." And I can smell her breath. And it was a good time, right? But I just remember hating it sometimes, especially as I became a teenager, right? I wanted that too cool for school, and I was trying so hard to not be that weird homeschool kid with his pants too short who was singing with his family still, and I was trying so hard not to be that, but they'd still drag us all along to these nursing homes, and we'd go sing carols. But then sometimes these people would look you in the eye, they're sitting in their wheelchair, and they're shaking, and you can tell they're probably at the end of their life. I said, nobody ever does this. Nobody ever comes here and does this. Thank you so much. And that's the moment that it hit you like, I'm so selfish. And you can see these people's faces just light up with joy. And it was such a blessing. Now at Christmas, my wife and I, we put up a big Christmas tree. And we've had this problem with our Christmas tree lately. We got it from Home Depot, I think, or someone that got it at Home Depot, and now, like, randomly, it'll just shift to, it's like the tree that comes with the lights, and it'll just automatically shift to, like, colors or, like, blinking in the middle of the night, so you just wake up, and it's, like, blinking colors all of a sudden. I don't know what's going on, but we set up a big tree, and I love being cozy. My wife makes fun of me for it, but I love it when it's dark and cold out and there's a fire going and the tree is lit. And I got a warm sweater on and Hillary next to me, and the kids are sleeping and the house is peaceful and everyone's safe and sound. I love that. Good jazz music playing. Maybe play the piano for a bit. A good Christmas show. Speaking of good Christmas shows, I got to watch one of my favorite Christmas shows the other day, and I took the liberty to put together a little clip of my favorite parts of this Christmas show. So, y'all want to watch this with me really quick? Cue that up, Rachel.
It's a symbol of the spirit of the Griswold family Christmas.
Dad, did you bring a saw?
I dedicate this house to the Griswold family Christmas. Drum roll, please. Joy to the world.
We're pretty well set up there in the RV. It's a little tight, but we didn't come to impose.
Well, there's plenty of room. So, when did you get the tenement on wheels?
Oh, that's an RV. Yeah. It's a good-looking vehicle, ain't it?
Yeah, it's so nice parked in the driveway.
Yeah, it sure does. But don't you go falling in love with it now, because we're taking it with us when we leave here next month.
I think she should lead us in a saying of grace.
Oh, great. What, dear? Grace! Grace! She passed away 30 years ago.
The blessing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Save the neck for me, Clark.
Okay, Eddie. Ed?
Hey, Clark?
What's wrong with the dog?
Oh, he's just yakking on a bone. He got it up. He's all right. If you don't mind, Clark, I'd like to see if I can fumigate this here chair. It's a good quality item.
Probably got scared and ran back into the tree. Dad?
Yeah.
Are you going to recite the night before Christmas?
No. It's your house. It's your Christmas. I'm retiring.
The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
I guess a healthy bottom line doesn't mean much. If to get it, you have to hurt the ones you depend on.
It's people that make the difference.
Carl,
Whatever you got last year, add 20%.
That's my favorite Christmas show. Anyone else relate? It's a little rapid fire reminder. But you know what's so good about what's made that show so good is that I think we can all resonate with something in there. Every one of us in this room has that weird cousin or uncle that comes by for Christmas and you're like, I don't even know if I should shake their hand like this. And there's always people that are around that just drive you crazy, and you try to put up with them because you know it's Christmas and you should. And some of you are just under so much financial stress, you're trying to figure out how you're going to make Christmas happen, and you just feel like you're not enough. And the thing I resonate the most with Clark, with the main character, is that you're a dad trying to make Christmas as special as possible, but you just never feel like you're enough. You ever feel like that? You ever feel like you're not enough? Do you ever wish you could just give the Christmas that you never had to your kids? Do you ever wish you could just avoid, or do you ever just find yourself maybe avoiding someone that you know is going through a tough time because you just don't know what to say? It's not that you don't care about them, you just don't know what to say. Do you ever wonder if your friends would be better off without you? Maybe if you're better off if you weren't even there. Maybe you just think to yourself, I just don't have the answers. I don't have the money. I don't know what to say. And this season almost brings that out because our expectation of what life should be gets higher at Christmas, doesn't it? And with that comes the crashing of the expectations. And that's what the problem is. That's what I see so often in my own heart. And the problem is we're all trying to create our ideal Christmas. Sometimes reacting to things that we didn't get growing up. And so we swing the pendulum the other way and we go, man, if I just get my kids all this stuff, they're going to be happy. And then 5 minutes into it, they're fighting over that stuff and breaking it. And you're like, they're not grateful. And sometimes you're trying to recreate what you maybe felt when you were a kid, but you're frustrated that it's never quite what you want it to be. You resonate with that? Check this verse out, Isaiah 7:14. Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Immanuel. We're going to get to that problem in a second. But I had a weird question pop up in my head the other day. Could Jesus have saved us without coming down to earth? Why did he do that? Couldn't have he just said, you're saved, you're good, you're forgiven? Why did he choose to save us like he did? God is all powerful. He could have done anything. He could have just, and we're perfect, we're good, we're forgiven. He could have. Why didn't he? Why did he do it the way he did? It reminds me of this song that just means so much to me. The lyrics go, you could have come like a mighty storm with all the strength of a hurricane. You could have come like a forest fire with the power of heaven in your flame. But you came like a winter snow, quiet and soft and slow, falling from the sky in the night to the earth below. So why did Jesus choose to save us like he did? I think number one is to give us a picture of humility. In Philippians 2:5, Paul writes, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who, being in the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. Being made in human likeness and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. He gave us such a picture of humility, didn't he? Everything that Jesus did and said has infinite meaning. Everything was a picture of something. The sacrifices were a symbol of what Jesus did on the cross. The temple was a symbol of his presence that would live in our hearts. Communion is a symbol of his body and blood given for us. And the Bible itself is just full of symbolism and meaning. A while ago, I was asking myself a silly, stupid question. But you know, you get those questions, and we bring a real God to real people here. So we're going to talk about real stuff, right? And this is a goofy question, and I'm sure it's been in your mind before. If you read a really, really good book, you might read it one more time. Maybe, right? Maybe a third time if it's really, really good. Why do I have to keep reading the Bible over and over? And I've read the Bible so many times as a kid, and that's not to brag, but I grew up with my dad reading me the Bible every single night. And I'm doing that with my own kids. And then I try to read it on the side or listen to it on the way to work in my car or whatever. And sometimes you feel, maybe when I was asking this question, I didn't have the hunger for the word that I wanted to have, right? You feel like, man, I'm a pastor. I should have more of a hunger for God's word. And some days you just don't. And I was asking myself, well, why? I mean, if I've read this so many times, why do I need to read it over and over? And then he showed me, and I knew this to be true in my head, but he showed my heart how alive and active his word is. Because the word doesn't change, but I do. And every year that I read something, I'm going through something different. I'm a different person. I've got different challenges. I've got different fears. And something jumps out at me that never hit me before when I read the Bible, because it's like a mirror and it's got infinite meaning. Everything Jesus said has so many infinite meanings. You could spend your whole life studying it and never get to the bottom of the rich meaning that's in the Bible. Every time I read it, something new jumps out at me. In fact, the Bible is the first hyperlinked book. I mean, you couldn't actually, there was no clicking, but it's like, you remember those old study Bibles where it'd have a cross-reference verse to every verse, and it's got over 65,000 cross-references. That's a picture of the Bible, how cross-referenced it is. I think that's enough to keep us busy for a while. So in Matthew, he writes, "She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins." All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. There's one of them cross-references. "The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Immanuel," which means God with us. That was all the way back in Isaiah. And it mentions he fulfilled that prophecy. So here's the big idea. Here's the one thing. If you don't leave here with anything else, I want you to hear this. Jesus came to show us the power of with. Why did he come like he did? He came just to show us the power of with. Immanuel, transliteration of the original Hebrew word composed of two words. Immanuel, which means with us, and El. Like El Shaddai, El is a word for God. Speaking of symbolism, marriage is a symbol. Everything that God made is a symbol. Everything that God made is a picture of something else. Marriage is beautiful because it's a symbol of God's love for us. Let me tell you, folks, having children is the single most potent way to discover God's love for you. I thought I knew how much God loved me until I had kids. I can't even believe the love that is in my heart. They can irritate me. They can make me mad. I can be but I will never stop loving them, ever. It doesn't matter what they do. And if you think kids are too hard, yes, they are. But guess what? This whole life is not made for being easy. This whole life is made for us being more like Jesus. So when you get married, you realize how selfish you are. And God prunes that out of you. God makes you a better person. And then you have kids, and you realize how selfish you still are. And he prunes that out of you, and he makes you a better person. And he shows you how much he loves you through this whole way. Kids' worlds are just so incredible, right? If you get into their little world, I just love that. So my youngest son, Eli, he's 3 now, and we were at a pumpkin patch, and there was all these goats around, and there was pumpkins, and we were going to pick up a pumpkin before we left. Each kid got to pick out a pumpkin, and they're all picking them out, and he finally has this little one, right? And you know, if you know Eli, he's little guy, and he's got his little pumpkin. I said, "You want that one?" And he said, "Yeah, I think he likes me." To just dive into their world is so incredible. And I've been learning something about parenting lately. I often feel this pressure as a parent, especially at Christmas, to be the super dad, right? You see all these dads doing amazing things for their kids on Instagram or whatever. That's all fake anyway, right? But this pressure to just buy them all this stuff or do all these crazy over-the-top things and spend a bunch of money on them. Make sure they have all the things I couldn't have when I was growing up. I've heard that so many times. For me, that was like, I don't know, electricity and running water. But the thing is, when I was growing up, I really didn't have electricity or running water. We ran generators and we went to the bathroom in an outhouse. But I didn't care about any of those things. That didn't matter to me. You just realized how redneck I am. I'm sorry. I try to hide it with the skinny jeans, but the thing, when I was growing up, I didn't have any of those things. But I do remember every single time that my dad would ride bikes with me, or my mom would take us to the park in town, or when Dad would be home with us on a Saturday and it was freezing cold up on the mountain, and he'd say to me, I'll do anything with you as long as it's by the wood stove. We had this old barrel stove, and as long as he could sit by the barrel stove, I could bring Legos over, Connects, games, cards, whatever we wanted to do. We could do anything with him as long as it was by the wood stove. I remember those times. I didn't care about the electricity. That's all I knew. So how do you create the ideal Christmas? How do you get rid of all that pressure? That pressure to create that perfect Christmas? How do you create it? And this is so important for Christmas this year because a lot of us, it's been a tough year financially for a lot of us. You don't have the money to go crazy this year. You know, that pressure to one up the last Christmas. Don't do that. A lot of people I know are struggling to make ends meet, just to put food on the table, to pay their home bill. And many of you are thinking about going deeper into debt just to make Christmas happen. I'm here, and I want to communicate this to you. I'm here to show you a better way. You don't have to be extravagant. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. Some of my best memories of Christmas are when we'd go to Minnesota to spend Christmas with all the cousins and grandparents, aunts and uncles, and we Robys take the whole fill the earth thing real seriously. So I had 19 cousins. It was awesome, and we were all the same age, and I don't remember a single gift I got. Not one. But I do remember the feeling of everyone being together. When I get home, I'm trying to do this myself. When I get home and I just take the time to sit down, lay on the floor, get on my kids' level, get in their world, right? There's something about that when you get down on their level. When I just sit on the floor, my back up against the wall, and they come to me with all the things they've made with Legos or stories they want to tell, or they'll break out their little guitar and start singing for me. I don't have to do anything. All I did was just get in their little world. I just enter myself into their little world, and I watch their little eyes light up with joy. A 30-year-old man doesn't have much in common with an 8-year-old girl, my daughter. But if I just sit and listen to her and ask questions, that's all she needs. So this Christmas, I want to ask you, do one thing for me. Just show up. Just show up. Somebody in your life right now needs you to just show up. Show up in the middle of the mess. Show up in the middle of the pain. Show up to rejoice with them. Show up in the waiting. Show up in the silence and be just like Job's friends. You know, they really jacked things up once they started talking. But that first 7 days, they sat in silence with him and just wept with him. That's friends. They just showed up. They didn't know what to say. You don't have to know what to say. You don't have to know what to get them for Christmas. You don't have to know how to make it incredible. I'll tell you how to make it incredible. Do what Jesus did. See, that second that I go sit down and get in my kid's world, that's exactly what God did for me. Why did he come the way he did? As a picture, as an example. He got into our world. He literally came down into our world. Did he have to do it that way? No, but he wanted to. Number 2, give the people in your life the power of with. You have no idea how much your presence has power in the lives of people that are around you. You have no idea. It has layers of power that you can't even explain. And this goes to show me that relationship means so much to God, doesn't it? Relationship is everything to him. The whole reason he made you was for you to be an object of his love. The whole reason he made you was because he wanted somebody to love. That's it. That's the gospel story. The only reason he made you in his image is for you to be creative and have the capacity for love like he does. So create something with your family this year. Create some memories. Get into their world. Give them the power of with. You might not feel like it's worth much, but my goodness, I guarantee you they will remember that for the rest of their lives. And I'm going to try to do that too. bow your heads with me. Jesus, we thank you for giving us the power of your presence, that you came down as a baby, as the most humble circumstances, and you decided to get in our world and save us. And now you're here with us. You change us from the inside out, God. And if you've never made that decision to have a relationship with Jesus, that's all he wants with you. That's all he's ever wanted with you. He doesn't want all the religious jargon. He doesn't want all the right things said. He doesn't even expect you to be perfect all the time. He just wants your love. He wants your heart. So we'll all say this together, and if you say this for the first time and mean it in your heart, you're a child of God. So let's just all say this together. Jesus, I repent of my sin. I turn from my way. I turn to your way. I give you my heart. I give you my doubts. I give you my fears. I'm putting my life in your hands, Jesus. Help me walk in your truth. And if you said that for the very first time today, welcome to the family of God. Let's give them a hand. And we have some resources in the back. If this is the first time you've made that choice, go to the back right there, and they'll give you some great resources to continue on your journey. And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, and I'll see you next week, 9, 10, and 11. Bring your friends, bring your family. We got plenty of room for you. We love you. You are dismissed.
If you are ever in the Seguin area, come visit us on Sunday mornings at 9 or 11 a.m. Or you can just download our app and receive our weekly messages right to your phone. Just text CC Seguin to 77977 and click on the link that you receive. May the remainder of your week be enriched with God's favor and blessings.